Chapter 65. The Flame Between Worlds. Decima didn't sleep that night. Not because of fear, because the fire inside her wouldn't rest. It pulsed in waves beneath her skin, rising in her chest, spreading through her arms. Like something was coiling tighter each hour the sun stayed down. It wasn't painful, just too alive to ignore. Outside, the wind had died. The air hung heavy, quiet, not just in the garden, but across the valley. Even the birds that usually stirred before dawn were silent. Something was building. She stood barefoot near the edge of the trees, cloak wrapped tightly around her shoulders, eyes on the sky. The stars above Porthcary shimmered faintly, but a single streak of gold ran low across the horizon. Not a shooting star, a signal. Daniel stepped out from the house behind her, quiet as always. He didn't speak until he was beside her. "You felt it too," he said. She nodded. "Since the mark, I haven't stopped feeling it." He looked up at the same sky. The world's waking up. The things we weren't meant to touch, they're stirring. And they're looking for us. Daniel hesitated. Or they're waiting for us to look back. She turned toward him. For a moment, neither of them said anything. Then he asked, "Are we going to the council?" "No," she said. They had their chance. They didn't want truth. They wanted control. So what now? We get ahead of them. Her eyes flicked back to the distant ridge, the same one where the vault had first stirred. "I think we're not the only ones who've been marked," she said. "And whatever's calling, it's not done with us yet." The dream didn't feel like a dream. It began in firelight, not her own, not Daniel's, something older, deeper. A golden glow that pulsed like breath and wrapped around her, body without burning. She stood in the Enyo. She stood in the middle of a dark field. The stars overhead were unfamiliar. Too many, too bright. Like the sky itself had cracked open and let something bleed through. A voice moved behind the flames. Not speaking in words, speaking in feeling. Recognition. Claim. Her skin burned where the symbols had marked her. The fire-veined paths along her arms, her chest, the base of her throat. They lit up in the dream, glowing brighter than they had since the vault. And then she saw him. A figure, far off at first, standing on the ridge, silhouetted in gold and shadow. Tall, still, not moving. No face, no name. But not new. Familiar. The same figure she'd seen at the edge of the vault. The one she'd felt before the mark. He didn't speak. He didn't step forward. He simply waited. She tried to walk toward him. The field didn't let her. Her fire surged, not in anger but need. She reached out. He turned and disappeared. She woke with a gasp, the fire in her chest flickering like it had just been pulled from another realm. Daniel sat across the room, already awake, already watching her. "You saw something," he said. She nodded slowly. "And someone saw me." She didn't speak for a long time. The fire still hummed in her chest, but it was quieter now. Not because it had faded, but because it was listening. Daniel stayed seated near the window, the early light casting long shadows across the room. He hadn't asked more questions. He knew she'd talk when she was ready. "He's not from here," Decima said finally. Daniel didn't look surprised. "The one in your dream?" She nodded. He wasn't just watching. He was waiting, calling. Daniel stood, walking toward her slowly. "The vault? The fire?" No, this was older than the vault. It felt like the vault was part of him, like the fire was left behind. Daniel's jaw tensed. "And he turned away?" "Just before I reached him." Daniel crossed his arms. "Maybe he was testing you. Or protecting me," she said. "Or protecting something else." She looked down at her hands. The veins beneath her skin still glowed, faint but steady. Not like fire, like a signal that hadn't stopped transmitting. Daniel stepped closer. "You think he's one of them?" "I think he's not like us." "But like you," Daniel said carefully. She met his eyes. "Maybe." A long silence followed. Outside, the wind shifted again. Not cold, but sharp. It hit the glass with just enough force to rattle the lower pane. Daniel turned toward the door. "If he's waiting, how do you answer someone who doesn't speak?" Decima stood slowly. "You don't speak back." She looked out across the trees, toward the edge of the cliffs. The horizon shimmered with faint gold, like a path had been left there for her alone. "You follow." Daniel didn't stop her, because whatever was waiting, out there, beyond the veil, it had already chosen her. And now she was ready to answer.